morning, traders. I'm Emily Ivani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Monday, May 12th. Markets are coming off losses on this Monday as trade developments remain the primary focus, but versus Friday, that means good news this morning. Back on Friday, the major indices ended mixed following a trading that hovered near flat all session. The Dow gave up 119 points, or just more than 0.25%. The S&P 500 shed just 4 points, or 0.07%. The Nasdaq closed flat, adding less than a point. Bill, let's get into Monday's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, yes. Good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. We're up 3%. I mean, 3.01%, actually. I mean, that's a big start to the day. And it's really a reaction to the latest news that's coming out of China and the U.S. on the trade talks. I mean, the U.S. and China, they're both going to be lowering the tariffs by 115% for the next 90 days. And then they're agreeing to continue talks. 115%. I mean, that's much more significant because if you remember on Friday, Trump said 80% seems like a good level. Market was kind of expecting tariffs to be at 50%, but by dropping them 115%, that's 30% on the U.S. side. That's very significant. That goes from darkness to at least a little bit of light. So that's very positive, and the markets are reacting very strongly to this news. Treasury Secretary Bessent said substantial progress was made after lengthy weekend discussions in Geneva. They also said they talked about fentanyl, and they're talking about ways to kind of curb some of that distribution. But I do need to point out that healthcare stocks are weakening. Healthcare stocks are weakening today because Trump's expected to sign an executive order today on drug prices. He thinks he can bring them down by over 50%. And the defense stocks are also weakening because you got to, especially the European ones, because Russia and Ukraine appear ready to start engaging in peace talks. See, if there's a peace, you don't sell as many missiles, and that kind of pulls down these defense stocks, especially in Europe. So you're seeing a little weakness there. And then the House Republicans are out. They released a new plan to cut Medicaid spending. They're opting for a compromise approach after internal debates. Between the centrists and the hardliners. I mean, it's really going to come to a head later this month. They're hoping to get a bill out before Memorial Day weekend. So there's going to be a lot more news on this reconciliation bill. Earnings season, hey, it remains in focus, because you got major reports coming out this week from Cisco, Tencent, Alibaba, SoftBank, Walmart, and Target. We got to keep an eye on that. And then we're turning our attention over to Europe to see what's going on over there. Now, first off, we're starting off with Germany. We're looking at the DAX. The DAX is up 137 points. It's 0.58%. Not as much as the U.S., but they are seeing positive action in auto stocks, but there is weakness in defense and pharma stocks. London is up 40 points, or 0.48%. It does have positive momentum. Oil stocks are good, but the pharma stocks are really under pressure, which is causing that gain to be limited. And then you look at the CAC in Paris, it's up 106 points, which equates to 1.38%. They're seeing positive action in autos. They're seeing positive action in luxury stocks, financials. They're all moving higher. And then we're looking last night in Asia, and we're talking about the Nikkei in Japan, which rose 148 points to 0.38%. They still have their trade negotiations going on, and there's likely to be more talks with Japan this week, but the U.S. and Japan are expected to continue to have these discussions, and an agreement could be targeted in June, likely, maybe end of June. We'll have to wait and see. And then we look at Hong Kong. The Hang Seng rallied 681 points. That's 2.98%. Wow, that's big, and it's all due to this trade, the lowering of the tariffs. That's really what it comes down to. We had big gains in tech. Then you're looking at Shanghai in China, rose 27 points, or 0.82%. Under the trade deal, U.S. is cutting its duties on Chinese goods to 30% from 145, and China will be lowering its tariffs to 10% from 125 for the duration of the talks. So Very positive, very positive. I think you'll see more gains in the Shanghai index tomorrow. Then we're taking a look at oil. Now, oil is running this morning. You got oil up over 3%. Like WTI is up $2.49 to $63.51 a barrel. That's up over 4%. Brent is trading $66.33. They're up 3.79%. I mean, the key issue is the easing of trade tensions. Why? Because that makes a positive for demand. That's helping sentiment. Also going on, you have to remember the Iranian talks. They're said to be going well. Russia and China appears ready for peace talks. See, those two factors are actually negative for oil because they would increase the supply on oil. But today it's all about the hopefully recovering in demand from the U.S. and China. And remember, OPEC, they're set to release their a monthly report on Wednesday, something to keep an eye on. But that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update, Emily.
And Bill, as we keep track of this main headline here about trade developments, obviously boosting markets today, we do want to make sure that we're keeping track of other headlines. It seems like I've been singing that same tune for weeks now, but it is important to keep track of all of those other details that may affect the trading day. And as you do every morning, starting out this week, you're looking at things like earnings action, economic events, and other market moving headlines. And we're going to do the full rundown on today's show, starting first with earnings action. Bill, what is going on there?
Starting off with Monday.com, MNDY, Michael, Nancy, David Yellow. Monday.com beat by 40 cents, and they did that on higher revenue. You look at the stock, it's up 5.6% this morning. Wow, that's a big move. Fox Corporation, FOXA, Frank Oscar X-Ray Alpha, they beat by like 20 cents, and they did that on higher revenue. You look at that stock, it's up 1.5% this morning. So yeah, that was a nice one. And upcoming, we got JD.com. They're going to be releasing tomorrow morning. Their EPS is $1.05. Expected move is 8.45%. You got On Holdings, ticker ON, Oscar Nancy. Their EPS is 24 cents, and the expected move is 10.42% when they release. Another one releasing tomorrow morning is OKLO. Oscar Kilo Larry Oscar. This one's interesting. I mean, they're expected to lose 11 cents. Expected move is 15.81%. But remember, they are in the nuclear power segment. They make data centers. So yeah, this is an interesting one to keep an eye on. OKLO, Oscar Kilo Larry Oscar, Emily.
And speaking of keeping an eye on some of those earnings, Fox Corporation was your pick of the day yesterday. And by the end of the show, we'll do a check-in on that. Sounds like some positive news there as well. Now let's get to the day's economic events, starting slow on this Monday, but some key reports throughout this week. Bill, what is going on in terms of economic events?
Yeah, there's no big ones on today. I mean, tomorrow we get the CPI. That's going to be a hot one. But, in terms of Fed speak, we have Fed Governor Adriana Krugler. She's going to speak. She's going to be speaking at 10:25 this morning. But, on Friday, we had a host of Fed speakers. And, and realistically, they were all stressing the importance of gathering more data before making policy changes. New York Fed Bank President John Williams said, hey, we're in a good place. And, he's advocating for collecting more information on trade policy impacts before determining the next steps. Adriana Kugler also spoke on Friday, and she noted the economy's underlying strength provides the Fed with more time to further, reduce inflationary pressures. And she was talking about, unemployment, seems stable. It's not, seeing some significant upticks. So that's a positive. But, she's going to be speaking again this morning, 10:25 a.m. We'll have to hear what she has to say. But that's what I have for you in terms of an economic update, Emily.
And speaking of data-driven decision-making, Bill, that's how you make your decision-making trading day in and trading day out using your NewsWare. You're following the economic events, the earnings action. We can hear from your opening that you keep track of overseas markets, of oil, and then you're also keeping track of other types of data, news, and information. Things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news. You're looking at your stocks grouped together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets on this Monday?
Just doing a quick data check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 24 higher and 6 lower, which I think is a large amount. But you're seeing weakness in healthcare, and you got a couple healthcare stocks in there, and then there's the trade. There's a lot of safety trades. A lot of money went into Verizon. Now it's being pulled out. It's going into tech. So that's interesting. You look at the tech stocks this morning. Netflix is flat, essentially flat to lower. But you have big gains in Meta. You got big gains in Microsoft. You got big gains in Tesla, Apple. Google's also trading higher, so we're seeing a lot of positive action in the FANG stocks this morning. And you look at some of the reasons behind it, like Apple, which is up 6.42%. I mean, they're expected to raise prices on the iPhones, but they're going to refrain from blaming tariffs. They're not going to be saying tariffs. They're going to say, yeah, we got to raise prices. Google, on the other hand, they agreed to pay Texas $1.375 billion to settle data privacy case. In terms of Dow Jones 30, so talking Microsoft, Microsoft and OpenAI is apparently negotiating with Microsoft for new funding and a future IPO. Interesting. Then you got Disney Thunderbolt movie. They came with that Thunderbolt movie, which again remained number one at the box office this weekend. So that's positive for Disney. You look at Disney; it's up 3% this morning. So that's good to see. In terms of guidance news, Monday.com, MNDY, they see full year 2025 revenue coming in 1.22 billion to 1.26 billion. Street estimate is 1.21 billion. That's an uptick. Monday.com, nice uptick on their guidance. In terms of shareholders meetings, IP International Paper, they're having a shareholders meeting today at 11 a.m. That could be something. But that's really what I have for you in terms of news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, what do you have for us to start the week?
I'm going to go with IGT, India Grace Time. It's international gaming tech. I mean, earnings are out tomorrow morning. EPS is 14 cents. Expected move is 6.21%. Now, you look at Friday's call volume, 1,745 calls versus 69 puts. You look at the open interest, 125,000 versus 19,000 puts. That's really positive. Major brokers aren't really following this one. They don't follow IGT, but it is interesting. And listen, if I can get in under 17, I mean, I think I should be able to pull out a gain. So I'll say, 1680, 1685, something like that, and I should be able to pull out a game. But that's my pick of the day, IGT, International Gaming Tech, Emily.
IGT it is today. We will follow that one along with you. And in just a moment, we will do a recap on Friday's pick of the day. As I pointed out earlier in the show, was Fox Corporation. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our Hot Off the Press segment. Bill, take it away.
Okay, this morning, what do we see? JetBlue reveals a new Duncan-themed livery. GE Healthcare, ticker GEHC, unveils a Gradient 1.5T MRI system. Trump's drug cap plan is alarming for the pharma sector. Yeah, it is. It's hitting a lot of stocks negatively. Secretary Bessent said, I could see a Trump-Xi call happening in the coming weeks or months. He also said it's implausible for China tariffs to go below 10%. Chewy, CHWI, their CFO is going to leave. Anheuser-Busch, ticker BUD, boy, Uncle David, they're going to invest $300 million in its facilities across the United States. Trump on Truth Social, drug prices to be cut by 59%. Ukraine, Zelensky said he's ready for talks with Russia as Trump backs Putin's offer. DLTR, estimates for retailers are likely to raise, be pushed higher just in the wake of these trade talk news. So you got to keep an eye on the new estimates, the latest estimates for some of these retailers. NVO, Novo Nordisk announced positive results for its treatment for kids with growth disorders. The stock's still trading lower, mainly due to the Trump pharma plan. That's all I'm seeing this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we get to trading on this Monday, dive into a new week, let's do that check-in. On Friday's pick of the day was Fox Corporation, as we said earlier in the show, and you did give us a look at the stock during your earnings rundown. They did report a Q3 EPS of $1.10. That was 21 cents better than the analyst estimates out there. Revenue for the quarter came in at $4.37 billion versus a consensus estimate of $4.14 billion. As you told us, it is up this morning. How did your call work out?
Fabulous, fabulous. I mean, listen, the stock opened up on Friday at $50.79, which was a little bit rich for me because I was saying between 50 and 50 is an entry price, but the stock fell. It fell all the way down to $50.03. So that was a great opportunity. And then it ran from there. It ran all the way up to $50.78. So, yeah, the 1% was there yesterday. But, you look at the stock this morning, it's already hit a high of $51.44. So it's already up another 1.5% because again on Friday the stock closed at $50.24. So my entry price was pretty good. And from there, even if you got in at the opening price, I mean you look at where the stock's trading now, you still made money. So yeah, FOXA Fox Corp was a winner on Friday. Winner.
Winner any way you look at it, and we will check in with you tomorrow about today's IGT pick of the day. See if we get another one there. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning this week at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.